And tonight, a Fox 19 investigation could have you checking your home's electrical system.
Yeah, we've been talking about this all night. Fox 19 investigative reporter Matthew Norton showing us how a common breaker box could be to blame for fires in the tri-state, right?
Yeah, and these breaker boxes are found throughout the tri-state. It can spark a fire that gets out of control before you realize there's even a problem. Fox 19 has learned this is exactly what happened at a Wyoming home. The fire spread quickly and lit up the night sky.
It ended up being a pretty significant fire, even though the homeowner was home. They had working smoke detectors, but the nature of the fire being an electrical in origin caused the fire to extend into the walls and spread very rapidly through the home.
You can see the fire started in the garage. The cause? A defective breaker box made by a company with a history of problems, though many homeowners have no idea.
Not a lot of people do.
Fox 19 discovered one at a home in Finneytown with the help of Home Inspector John Cordell.
Has the government done a good enough job getting the word out?
I don't think so.
Federal Pacific. The government has known for more than 3 decades that breaker boxes made by Federal Pacific might be dangerous. The Consumer Product Safety Commission launched an investigation in June of 1980, yet didn't recall Federal Pacific breakers. Thankfully, it's easy to see if your home has one.
Yes, right there, right on the front. Good. And that's what I would recommend to the consumer. We don't want you taking the screws off.
Jeremy Yoakum and his wife owned this house. They bought it in 2002.
Actually, our home inspector kind of alerted us to it and just let us know of the issue, and it wasn't as big of a deal, I think, then. It wasn't like you need to get it replaced right away, but just be aware.
More than a decade later, a home inspector would tell you to replace it. And as he and his wife consider putting their 2-story house on the market, Jeremy plans to do just that before it becomes an issue with the buyer.
I anticipate it'll be an issue. I kind of want to remove as many roadblocks as possible throughout that process.
So what makes Federal Pacific breakers so dangerous? Firefighter Matt Flagler tells us it has to do with what's on the inside of these little breakers.
If too much current is applied, there's a piece of metal in here that will heat up and expand and cause the circuit to open up so no more power flows. In this particular brand of circuit breaker, even when that circuit attempted to open, a piece of the metal would still stay in contact and power would still flow.
Eventually melting and starting a fire like this one in Wyoming that caused $240,000 in damage. Thank goodness, though, no one was hurt. Federal Pacific is now out of business, and these breakers can't be sold in the U.S. anymore. But because so many Cincinnati houses were built between the 1950s and 1980s, Home Inspector John Cordell's worried there are dozens more out there in our area.
I'm not here to scare you to death. It's just something we want to show you so you can look at and for the future.
So you can hire a licensed electrician before your home goes up in smoke. Replacing your breaker box will likely run between $700 and $1,500. That's if you're lucky, because the home we visited also has aluminum wiring rather than copper wiring. Making the home's wiring safe in that case can cost $4,000 to $5,000. Matthew Norton, Fox 19 investigates.
All right, man, thanks. Meanwhile, as the home inspector in our story mentioned, you want to look for the name Federal Pacific on the outside of the breaker box, but don't try to take anything apart. It's just too dangerous. To find a licensed electrician, ask your neighbors if they'd recommend a good one, or see what customers are saying on sites like Angie's List.